could have walked away, 'cause I don't know what you'll say. All I know is I want this. All I know is I want this. Hey. All I know.
Hello. What is going on, everybody? It is Devin Gray. All right, look. So we wanted to come up with a little phrase to say at the beginning of all of the podcasts, so it can let people know exactly what we're about and stuff like that. So I don't know if it looks bad to sit and read it.
I don't think so.
Until we memorize it, because eventually we'll memorize it.
Yeah.
That could be our homework, trying to memorize it. But for now, I'm gonna read it for today. And then let us know if y'all like it or what. I mean, I like it, you like it, so I think we're going to keep it. But anyway, welcome to the Greycious Podcast. Whether you're in a new relationship, a long-term partnership, or simply curious about human connection, asking the right questions can unlock a world of understanding. And we are just trying to understand. So we're just trying to understand all these different things, all these stuff about relationships, all of that. So we're going to get into our video for today. So we're going to talk about losing a loved one, dealing with grief, stuff like that.
And helping your partner through dealing with grief.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All the good things. But first, would you like to introduce the drinks?
Today we have Miami Vices. We're in the process of trying to plan a friend's vacation. So hopefully this gives us some inspiration for what we're going to do. Hopefully we find a nice, fun place that we all can enjoy and relax. I was just telling somebody at work, this is all of our first time in the last 16 years of not having a spring break. And so this is our first time out of school for the year, so we just want to be able to make it special and still be able to have that off time and have a break of some sort, even though we're still not in school. So
yeah, it's gonna be a good time.
Yeah.
So Miami Vices, let's take our first sip. That's really good.
I feel like I'm at all-inclusive, living life.
That's really good. Yeah, that's really good. All right, so gray way or no way?
Okay.
I got 4 picked out for today. So the first one. Oh, wait. Sorry. Let's say what gray way, no way is. Gray way, no way is a little game we play. That kind of rhymed. But it's a little game we play. If you like it, if we like it, we say gray way. And if we don't like it, we say no way. So
right.
Gray way or no way, prenups.
I feel like it depends on what stage of life you're in to get it. It didn't make sense for us to do that because I think I maybe had $100 to my name when we got married, and the $100 was given to us as a wedding gift. So I think that for us, it was we didn't really need one, but I do think it's important that if you're established that you go ahead and do it, just so it isn't as messy as it can be sometimes with divorces. Hopefully you won't have to get a divorce, but I feel like it saves your future self to get prenup, so that way it's not this long battle and things like that.
So you're saying gray way?
I think gray way, just thinking in the future, it makes it easier for everybody, I feel. If there's already a set thing that y'all have in place, and y'all can go back to that and honor it, or y'all can be like, you know what, we can change this.
Yeah.
But at least there's something there to kind of start with.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say no way, because I feel like you're almost planning for the failure. If you're that worried about, I feel like you're almost putting your money and your material things over y'all's relationship and marriage by doing a prenup. It's I understand it. If I got with a celebrity, it's I get it. But the core, to me at least, the core of a relationship and a marriage is trust and that y'all are gonna work through anything.
Yeah.
Through thick and thin, you know, all of that. So to me, saying a prenup, it's like, well, in case we don't work out, this is what I'm doing, and it's almost like you're planning just in case for the failure, but
I mean,
we don't need a just in case. If we're not going to fail, we're not going to fail.
I feel like it's the same reason why we have insurance. I would hope that I would need to go to the hospital and have some type of crazy thing happen to where I have to find coverage for that. But I'd rather in that moment when I'm feeling all the emotions, whether we're super mad at each other or not, there's something that we can go back to of when we did like each other, this is what we said we would do. And so I feel like a lot of times in divorces, if you don't have a prenup, maybe if the divorce is bad, then like you would be going at it, or what you want to give or what you want to keep would be more malicious rather than this is something we set up when we were the most in love and we thought this would be the best for us. We were in a better headspace than we are now. Is how I feel. And so I feel like it's the same with insurance. I don't want to get to the point to where I have to pay $50,000 for something, but I could have had insurance and only paid $500 for it.
Yeah.
And it's like, obviously I don't want something to happen to me where I'm having to pay $50,000 to a hospital or something like that.
But you do that because you know, it's like most people know at some point they're going to get in a wreck. At some point your house is going to have a leak.
I feel like it's like, I don't know if I'm going to get a wreck at some point, but I would rather be covered if I did than stressed out about one.
Yeah, and I just don't want the if.
And,
I just don't even want the if.
Yeah.
But I've always said that for my marriage. I mean, I get what you're saying about insurance and all that stuff, which is why we have insurance and all that. But I just take the if away for marriage and stuff. To me, it's like there is no if. I don't think there's almost nothing you could do, because the type of person you are, I wouldn't be with you in the first place for you to do the things that it would take for me to divorce you. Like, you're not going to kill somebody. Mm-hmm. You're not going to rob a bank. And if you did rob a bank, I'm sure I would have known what's going on. So I would have been a part of it in some way. So there's just nothing. So to me, it's like, there is no prenup. If I had more, which I mean, I had a little more than you, but not nothing crazy. But like, if I had $1 million to my name and you'd had nothing, I would risk it all. Like, I feel like there is no divorce.
Yeah. And I feel like that's definitely a positive thing that we didn't have to do, but
yeah.
I
see
even
if we did have to do it, I
people.
wouldn't have done it for me. You could have done it, and I wouldn't have been against you, because I understand. But yeah. All right, death penalty.
Ooh, I have to say no way, only because I feel like if you did something wrong enough to get the death penalty, I feel like you should have to live with it for the rest of your natural life. I don't think you should be able to be like, get away with it almost because they killed you. I feel like you should be the most, like, in the most safest jail cell to where nothing could potentially happen to you. And you get annual doctor appointments just so you live long enough to live with the fact of what you did to get something that bad anyway. Yeah. So I say no way.
Yeah, I don't really. I
say torture them.
I kind of agree with that, but I don't know about torture them, but I don't think anybody should get killed for.
I'm saying you don't even have to.
I mean, I get what
inflict torture on somebody, but I'm saying they need to be able to live until 85 or more with the fact of what they did.
Yeah.
And that's torture. That'd be torture to me. Because, I mean, if you die at 40 and you didn't have to live with it that long.
Yeah.
But I think you should be able to live with it, hopefully become a better person from it, but still know what you did. So.
Kneeling during the pledge.
I say gray way. Only because during during the time when people were doing that the most, I feel like it was definitely the most called for. Now, I think blindlessly kneeling through the pledge isn't the best. Like, I don't think you should just be kneeling just to be disrespectful. I think you should be kneeling for a purpose. And so if you're kneeling because of this thing that you have in your head, like, I know something bad is going on in the world and I can't stand for this, so then you kneel, then it's like, yeah, okay. But kneeling just to cause a scene, I feel like is a completely different thing. I feel like kneeling with the purpose is good, but kneeling because you just want to have people look at you and be like, oh, look at him, he's kneeling. That's a different vibe for me.
Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, most of the time during the pledge, I don't put my hand over my heart or stand. If I'm already sitting, then I'll just remain sitting. But I won't be talking through it or anything like that.
Yeah,
but,
like, we're not disrespectful about it. I was going to say that too. Like, I was going to say no way to specifically kneeling. Like, if you're kneeling, that's a bit much to me. Like, you're doing a lot. Like you're saying, I think that's more of an attention thing. Now, in sports, that's different because you have to stand. You have to go up there and stand. So sports, that's completely different.
Yeah.
But like, how if we're somewhere like at a game and we everybody's just sitting in their chairs, whatever. If I like get up to kneel in the crowd, like that's doing a lot. But we don't usually like stand up or nothing like that. Or I feel like sometimes I stand up. Like if it's a good singer, like I'll stand up for the singer, or
I'll clap for you, I think.
Yeah, I'll clap. I mean, I kind of rock with the song, so I'll hum the song. I'm just not like, I'm not real patriotic about that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I said no way for specifically kneeling, but great way in the fact of if you have a purpose, then do what you need to do. Last one, school uniforms or like dress codes.
I think dress codes are necessary. I mean, even outside of school, you're going to have a dress code for work. So,
yeah.
I mean, when you're not at work and when you're not at school, that's the time where you don't have a dress code. You can go outside with hooshy shorts on and people might look at you crazy, but no one's going to say, hey, you can't wear those.
Yeah.
So I feel like the time to be able to wear whatever you want to wear, and that's when you're not in school or not at work.
Yeah. So great way.
Yeah, great way.
Yeah, I say great way too because I feel like having dress code did allow you to learn kind of like a discipline and some guidelines to follow. And they kind of, the people that were into like fashion, or you could tell at a young age, the people that cared about how they looked coming to school. Yeah. I feel like it makes those type of people work harder to think of creative ways to like bend the rules. And I feel like that was a lot of fun seeing like when we weren't allowed to wear jogging pants. And so people would like cuff it and then do the little roll. So it kind of fits like jogging and looks like jogging pants. That's very creative. Yeah. And so to think we were how old are we? 13, 14 years old doing that type of stuff. That's pretty creative. And then whenever we would mismatch shoes and do crazy ties in our shoes and just stuff like that was all just ways to stand out through the dress code. So I feel like that was a lot of fun seeing different things people did. And yeah, that was just some really cool stuff. So I think that's good.
I also think it helps too, for people who may not have like a lot of money. No one really judges you if you wear khakis 5 days out of the week. And so if you only had one pair of khakis or two pairs of khakis, no one would be able to tell because everybody's wearing khakis. Nobody was really wearing the like navy colored ones, but a lot of people were wearing khaki and black pants. And so I felt like it gave people opportunity to, I'm going to have 2 pair of khaki pants, 2 pair of black pants, 5 polos, and then just kind of switch them out rather than no dress code. You have to, if you have a shirt with a big heart in it, and then you have another shirt with a star in it, those are the only 2 shirts you have, people are definitely going to notice.
You're wearing that.
You're wearing the same thing over and over again. But with uniforms, it was like, you can switch it up, you blend in. Yeah. Everybody's basically wearing the same thing. So I don't think there was a lot of like
people weren't getting bullied because of clothing.
Yeah.
That I know of. I don't know. I can't speak for everybody, but
yeah.
I didn't hear of a lot of people getting bullied for clothing.
Yeah.
But all right. So I don't know if you wanted to open that up, but all right. So we're gonna dive into the conversation for today. So as I mentioned earlier, we're gonna be talking about like just dealing with losing a loved one or dealing with grief and how like as a spouse or as a partner or whatever you can help them out, or just I guess just kind of our experience with what we've dealt with so far, and hopefully people can relate or whatever. So what is the time that you like that you can think about that you lost somebody? It's definitely a sad question, but
yeah. I mean, the most recent I feel is my great grandmother who passed away. I think that was junior year of college. Yeah, it was junior year because you were SRA. But yeah, she passed away on her birthday, which is wild. Crazy. That's so wild. Yeah, she passed away, and I was in junior year of college. I was 3 hours away, so it was like you can't go as soon as you find out to your family because there's also other things that go on in life, and you have deadlines and tests, and
that's what I was gonna say too. Is it's like the same situation with me as like it would. I feel like the times I was losing the most people felt like it was around. I was in college, so you were also in college during that time. I mean, you've lost other people, but yeah, you can continue.
But yeah, so I think it was weird at first because I didn't know how I wanted to feel because she was 97 that day. She turned 97. And so I was like, she definitely lived a long life up until the last few months of her life. She was like doing everything completely fine.
Luckily, she didn't seem to suffer.
Yeah. she was
passed away. She literally just passed away.
She had a stroke a few months before then, but even after the stroke, she kind of came back around and was still fairly healthy other than the fact that she had a stroke. And so, I just didn't know how I wanted to feel about it. And of course, I was sad. But at the same time, I was like, she did live like such a good life. And the weeks before, they were planning on doing a party for her, obviously a drive-through parade because it was during COVID and all of that. And so she had told somebody, she was like, oh, no, y'all don't have to do a birthday party for me. I won't be here. And we were all like,
bro, when your grandparents do you ever, do y'all ever have times whenever your grandparents will say things like, if God sees fit, and it's just like,
don't say that.
Stop saying that.
You're making me sad.
I don't want to think about that. If God sees fit, I see fit. You need to stay.
Yeah.
Golly.
So it was like a little bit because of her personality, it was almost funny because she was like, it was kind of like, I told you so.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was like, obviously it was still sad that because she died.
Yeah.
But she literally told us like,
So how'd you feel? Because you got a call. Mm-hmm. How did you feel getting off the call?
I feel like that's what I was just saying. Like after I got off the call, I was like, how do I feel right now? Just because it was like with COVID, I hadn't seen her in a long time, and I didn't want to get her sick because I was still out doing stuff, and so she didn't really have as many visitors during that time, just because everybody was like not wanting to get other people sick, especially elderly people. And so I felt bad because I hadn't seen her in a while, but at the same time, I knew I hadn't seen her in a while because COVID was like at its peak at that time.
It wasn't like you just were choosing not to see her.
And during that time, it was like no one wanted to have that on their conscience of like, I went over there, she got COVID, and then because she got COVID, she passed away. That'd be horrible.
Yeah, because this was around the time when like COVID was just it's just like you couldn't do anything, and it was like we were very, 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 very safe, but there were times whenever it's like you went and got your hair done, and it's like, oh, it turns out the hairdresser had COVID, but she didn't know until 2 days after you left. So now you have to quarantine, but I was just with you, and so then now I have to quarantine, but I was also just with. It was just that time was crazy.
Yeah, it was a lot.
That time was crazy. So yeah, it was sad that.
Yeah.
But I see what you're saying though. Like it is sad, but it's like at least you didn't feel like you weren't going and you could have went.
Yeah.
Because as well as you were in college, it was COVID time, so you couldn't have gone over there.
Yeah. So I think with all that, I was conflicted, and I really didn't cry until the funeral, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like, because I think we were just sitting, you were working in your shift, and then my aunt called me, and I was just like, my great-grandma just died.
Yeah, I was just like, wow.
And I didn't know. Like,
luckily I got to meet her and stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, that definitely felt.
It is such a weird, it's such a weird, like, hearing calls of, well, so-and-so just passed away. It's like.
Yeah, what do you mean?
But it's like, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm supposed to be. I mean, I guess in movies you hear about somebody gets a call that somebody passes away and that person just breaks down. Mm-hmm. I don't think I've ever had a time when I've gotten a call that somebody said somebody has passed away and I just broke down. And so I think that's an inaccurate representation of how that goes. Mm-hmm. Maybe some people are like that, and maybe it's just my personality. But I've never, even whenever Gigi died or whatever, I don't think I just broke down whenever I heard the news.
Yeah, I think when your dad called you with Gigi, it was like I was like bracing for impact, so I was just kind of standing around you like, when are you gonna do
I was just
something?
so, I don't know, like I just felt so, it's just like.
I feel like it takes a while to understand it, especially if you're not there. Like, if you are the one that gets a call, then it's like...
I've never dealt with that. Oh, my gosh.
Being there?
I've never dealt with I'm with the person and then they pass.
And then, like, you're the one giving the calls or asking someone else to give the calls because you were there.
I've never dealt with that. But even with like Two Shoes, I just didn't even want. It's like the good thing is with Two Shoes and Gigi both was I had at least a couple days where people were like,
this may or may not be happening. Right
now. They might be real on the verge, and so luckily I had I had a little bit of like a. I mean, I knew it was coming at some point, but I did not want to talk on the phone with Two Shoes. Yeah. I didn't want to call and talk because they say like people want to hear from everybody, then they're good to go, then they go. And I didn't want to call and then be like, hey. Yeah. And then they're like, oh, I'm good. And I mean, that's so like, that's so like thinking I'm that important to somebody. Yeah. But it's just like, I don't want to talk to her. Then. Yeah, and then that's what happened.
Like, I think it was maybe 2 days later, or it wasn't the same day for sure, but it was like maybe a day or two later that she passed away.
So it's just. I think for me, it's like if I don't talk to them, it's not real. Mm-hmm. And so I think for like with Gigi, like I didn't talk to her every day. I didn't see her every day. So I was thinking like the gaps. I'd be like, okay, well, I don't talk to her, but then. What got me was whenever I looked on, I think, social media, and then
it was like other people
were starting to post like the obituary and stuff, and I was like, ugh, I don't even know why I went on here.
Yeah, I think that's when you started crying. That was the moment you started crying when you realized that it was like they didn't just say that, like it was actually
like Like, it's announced.
And in the moment, it's like, why would somebody sit here and lie to you and call you and tell you that somebody died and they didn't actually die? But
you don't think really they're real. You're like,
it's okay, yeah.
And you're like, you're just thinking like, I mean, are they?
Yeah,
they're not dead, right? And then it's like you start seeing confirmation that they're not here anymore.
Yeah, it's like they're dead, but I mean, are they really dead?
Yeah.
Until you see other people, or you get to the funeral, like I was saying with my great grandmother, and I was like, that is her body.
Yeah, and I'm not like a very I don't think I'm a very empathetic. Empathetic is whenever you like feel people's emotions, like you actually feel them, not that you feel bad for them.
Yeah.
I'm not very. I feel bad for people, but I don't feel people's pain.
Yeah.
And so I usually, like, after Gigi's funeral, I was like, I'm not going to funerals. I don't go to funerals. Yeah. And so Jayla knew that before anybody had really passed away, that I was with her and really dealt with. She knew, like, I don't really, like, I can't do funerals because they all just remind me of Gigi's funeral. Like, regardless of who it is, I see her picture. I see her in the casket, all of that over and over and over again. So to me, I've always just been like, no. But I knew that I needed to go because that's so selfish of me to not go and be there for you. Yeah. And so there was one that we went to where I didn't go to the actual funeral. I went to Louisiana with you, but I didn't go to the funeral. Mm-hmm. But I felt like, I mean, I went to Louisiana, so that I felt like I did something for you.
Yeah, but, and during that time, it was like, I definitely did want you to come, but I knew that you were still in a process of grieving too, and I feel like maybe that would have been selfish of me to expect you to go if you had just been through that. And so I was just like, I'm definitely glad that you even came in general, but yeah.
Yeah. So,
I guess the question I would have for you is, what is something you learned about yourself while you were grieving that you feel like you didn't recognize or you didn't know until you got to that point?
About myself, I feel like maybe just that I think that I actually do need to lean on other people because I felt very, very, very self-sufficient, and I still feel very self-sufficient, but I feel like before specifically Gigi passing away, and that was my grandma, that was my dad's mom, by the way, but whenever, and also I feel like it's a grandparent, so a lot of people, we could talk about this also, but like, because she's my grandma, I felt like I couldn't really cry that hard. I couldn't complain to people because it's your grandma. Everybody's grandma passes away, so it didn't feel very important. But my grandparents played a very large role in my life for all of my life because my dad and my mom were very young when they had me. Not very, They weren't 16. They were like my mom was like 19 when she had me. My dad was like 22, 23 or something like that. Yeah. Something like that. So they were pretty young, but like I think my dad was still reliant on his parents a lot, and my mom was pretty reliant on her parents during that time. So, and their parents play very large roles in their lives, and so I was very much around them. Like they were second parents. They weren't like they weren't just like grandparents. Like they had very, very, very strong roles in my life. Yeah. But I'm not gonna explain that to a bunch of people all the time. And so for me to say, "Oh, my grandma passed away," or whenever it was time for me to go to classes and stuff, and I just couldn't go through my day-to-day life feeling okay, I didn't feel like I could tell people my grandparent passed away. I almost wanted to say like my mom passed away because that's what it felt like. Yeah. But I can't imagine like actually losing my mom. But anyway, I felt like I thought that I could do it all on my own. Mm-hmm. Because I had lost, like, her siblings some of her siblings had passed away, and that was really hard on me too. But I felt like I didn't need to like cry on people's shoulders. I didn't need anything from anybody, and I was okay. And so for her, I was like, I mean, I think I could do this on my own. And I remember there was a time whenever like I kind of like zoned out and dipped. Like I was gone. And you remember, like, I think you were texting me and calling me, but I like didn't have my phone on me or something. I don't know what it was.
So that was the day that I found out that my uncle had died, but I hadn't even gotten to tell you because I think you take a test or something, and then I just didn't hear from you for a while or something like that.
Yeah. And so I felt like I was just really trying to do it all on my own, and then it was just so much that I couldn't even like, I don't even know what I was gonna do. I'm not like, I'm not gonna say never, but I'm not like suicidal. Like I wouldn't have wanted to die. I wouldn't have wanted to kill myself, but it's not that I didn't want to be here, but I wanted to be where she was. Mm-hmm. But she wasn't here. But I didn't want to die. Yeah. But I'm also too scared of scary movies and didn't want to do like the whole spirit stuff.
Yeah, let's not.
Yeah, so I'm too scared of scary movies, and I don't do the Ouija boards, and I don't do all that haunted stuff. But and I didn't feel like, I just didn't relate to the whole she's watching over you. I don't feel that. I don't feel like that. But I saw something that said you shouldn't ignore signs of.
Yeah, I saw that too. Because letting yourself see the signs rather than being like, oh, that's not a sign, that's just a coincidence, allows you to kind of
cope
help
with it.
Yeah, heal and grieve a little better.
Yeah, but I feel like I have to force myself to think that way. Like I don't naturally, I don't think like if I'm in a store and I happen to pick up like a certain food that she likes, that I know she likes, and then like Al Green plays on the store radio, I don't think like oh my gosh, that's so crazy, like she has to be watching. I don't think that. I'm just like, I'm
quick to be like, oh, this is a sign.
Yeah, but I like that though. And you're very empathetic, and I'm not empathetic. I think I can feel bad for people, but I just don't really like feel people's pain. I'll try my very, very, very hardest to get you out of your pain, almost to the point to where it's like, you need to chill out, I think. But I don't feel your pain. Yeah. Yeah. But I think that's what I noticed as a person. I think that's something that I learned about myself, is that I did need somebody to lean on, because I just thought that I could handle it myself, but I did need you to like just cry on your shoulder, or I did need you to just hear me vent, or hear me joke about things, or hear me whatever I was doing during that time. Yeah. But I mean, what did you feel like I was? I mean, what did you? I know the day of, we didn't really like. I feel like nothing was different the day of that I heard.
Yeah. I think it was mostly just like, for me, having you grieving, and obviously, like you were saying, I'm empathetic, so it was kind of like I felt him grieving, so I was grieving too. But I feel like I also had to grieve the person that you were before then, because like I saw something, and it was saying, or the video we were watching, and the lady was like, you're not gonna be the same person you were before then. And so there's things that may have changed after that is like, oh, well, that's because of this. And so even as simple as I was in a major dealing with medical stuff, and
I did not trust doctors.
You weren't like trusting doctors. And so I was like, you can't say that like all doctors are bad, because I want to be a doctor.
I had almost a hatred for like medical stuff, because when she passed away, and so she had been sick for a while, but because I wasn't with her every day, she lives in Houston, I lived in Dallas, I saw her like holidays, weekends, stuff like that, whenever I go visit my dad. But she had been sick for a while, but they didn't really tell me how sick she would get. So I thought she was like, I mean, yeah, she's kind of sick, but I didn't think she was like deathly sick. Like I didn't think she would get that sick. And so I forgot where I was going with that. Oh, yeah, doctors and stuff. Yeah, so I didn't think that she was that sick. And so whenever she would be at the doctor's later on, like closer to when she passed away, I did notice like her voice would be changing and stuff.
Yeah.
So she was sick. So I just wanted to preface with that. She was sick. But like I felt like they were saying because of her scar tissue, they went in and did a surgery, but because of the scar tissue, they couldn't, like she was bleeding too much or something. Something happened where she just couldn't. She couldn't
do the transplant.
Yeah.
As they were planning for.
Yeah, but to me, I was just like, they had to have been able to see that. Like you have to be able to see that her scar tissue would be too far. These people are too smart. These doctors are in school for too long. There's no way that they didn't see that. That was my whole thing. I was just like, they don't care. They're negligent. I know. I have friends that's in the medical field. I know they cheat on their test. I was just so upset with medical stuff, and her field was medical. Like, so it was I do understand that. Yeah, like that was a very hard time for me, but
yeah. So I just felt like there were things that changed after that maybe I had to get used to, or even like how you're saying, you might joke about things. It's just different things will come up, or conversations will come up, and it's like, okay, so this is, you kind of have to make connections and understand where they're coming from.
Yeah.
In order to know the new person that they are.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm just not I'm not the type of person to be crying and moping around like that. So I do think I probably had some very I'm saying inappropriate, which has a different kind of connotation to it, but like inappropriate jokes that are like, it's just like, I feel like some of my jokes back then, if I were to hear them now, I would just be like, yeah, he's not okay.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Gigi would have, or I don't know, like there was just certain things that's just like,
why did you
I
say
don't
that?
know. Yeah, it was just.
But I feel like that's a way of grieving. Sometimes there's a bunch of different stages of grief, but I feel like at the end of the day, I was reading something and it said that grief is basically unexpressed love. And so because that person is gone, you're going to always grieve them because you're going to always love them.
Yeah.
And so it's going to show up like grief, but it's just you love them so much and you're not able to tell them. And so that's where it makes grief.
Yeah.
And so I feel like you'll always have grief, but there's definitely ways that you can handle it and go about it to where it will be more healthy rather than just like, I don't know, doing drugs or something.
Yeah, and trying to internalize it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. Cause I do feel like that is what it is. Cause I feel like also the biggest thing to me wasn't even that she would passed away. I felt like one thing about me, I do not like to tell people I'm going to do something and not do it. Like that is something about me that I don't tell people I'll tell somebody no. Like I'd rather hurt their feelings and tell them no, I'm not going to do it than tell them I am and then change my mind. Like that bothers me a lot. So I remember having a conversation with her because, like I said earlier, she was the type of grandparent to be like, when I'm not here, but she knew she was sick. And so I don't think she knew she wasn't going to live for a long, long time. So she would say things like, when I'm not here, stuff like that. And, I forgot what I was going to say again.
You were going to go.
Oh, yeah. We had plenty of conversations where she was like, when they call me for my transplant, like, you're going to drop everything that you have going on and like come and go and be there for her transplant, or like to see her before she goes in for the transplant. And I was like, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I was always like, yeah, of course. Like why would I not come and do that? And so then it finally happened, but we had this conversation different times throughout different years, but I was always younger to where it was almost like I would have to call and tell, like my dad would need to come and get me. Mm-hmm. And it's like my dad has to come and get me. But I was in college when it happened. So It was freshman year of college during like...
It was the first month of being there.
So it was just like, I can't I can't just come right now for your surgery.
I'm pretty sure like midterm exams were like approaching, and because you're an art major, you start your midterm like a month before actually it's due.
Yeah, it's a project.
So yeah,
I just couldn't, and I thought like, yeah, I'll come like, the next weekend, or I'll definitely be there soon after. I knew I was going to be there soon after the surgery, but I was like, I don't need to come before, like I had said I would do. But then she passed away, and I was like, oh.
Yeah. And so with she basically, which we didn't know this at the time, but she got moved up on the transplant list just because of the state of her health. But with what we were thinking is like, oh, the person before her got accepted, and so now it's her turn. But really, she got moved up
because she was sick.
For us, it was like, oh, this is so good. Like
it's her turn.
It's her turn now. But it was really she got moved up and needed it more than others. And so for us, we went to sleep that night thinking, oh, she finally got it. It was going to be early that morning. They called us at like 11 at night. And so we were like, okay, so we'll see how it goes tomorrow morning. Then we'll probably be there this weekend or something like that.
Yeah.
So that was the mindset we had, which was we were in college and we had never gone through anything like that. So we didn't know what the case was. Yeah. But
and then she was alive after the surgery, but I think she was in a coma or something. Or they were keeping her alive, or like she wasn't.
Yeah, I don't really know.
She didn't pass like right.
It's all a mystery.
Yeah, it's just a lot, but a lot of it too is that like I didn't know how sick she was, and my family was trying to like, keep the stress off of me and not tell me when she would get that sick. But I almost feel like I would have rather known, so I would have been more expecting of it could be any minute, and not like, what the heck? Like she's about to what? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't think she was that sick, but I did go there like recently before then, and I remember we were like at the hospital from.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
for a long time.
Yeah, it was just what a time. But yeah, it's just. What was your question? How did I feel, or?
I just said, how did it change you, or how? What do you think changed when you went through grief, or you learned about yourself?
Oh, you were talking about like your, because you were in a medical track.
Yeah.
I wasn't trusting doctors at the time. So, did you feel like you couldn't tell me about like things you were going through with your classes and stuff because you knew that I was gonna be like just against it, or do you feel like I wasn't really like that?
Yeah, like being transparent, that was definitely my worst semester in school, like performance-wise. And I don't think it was because you didn't like the medical field, but I do think that I'm an empathetic person, and so I wanted to be there for you a lot, but I was also feeling your emotions. And there were definitely probably times where I probably should have been studying, but it's like, let's just get our mind off of all the stuff that's gone on this semester and do something else, just hang out, not worry about work right now. And so I felt like because of you going through that, I felt like I was going through it too. One, because I'm empathetic, and two, because you're my boyfriend. So it's like, obviously I'm going to be there for you. And when you're feeling sad, more than likely I'll probably be feeling sad too, because I'm feeling your emotions.
Yeah.
And so I think that was like a big shift for me, but also just figuring out how to make you feel better, like what to do to make you feel better. I feel like too, with grieving, you have to make yourself aware that this isn't going to be just for 6 months. This isn't going to be just for a year. Like, my aunt passed away when I was 5. And at the wedding, I found myself crying because I was like, what would she have done if she was here? And where would she have been? And so I think there's times throughout you do different things or you get to different places and you're like, dang, I wish this person was here. And I feel like that's part of grieving.
Yeah.
And so you'll always grieve for a person that you love dearly.
Yeah. I mean, I personally feel like that is the hardest part of grieving, is because, yeah, it's super sad when you find out that you're never going to talk to them again, and you find out that they're in the ground or whatever happens to them. But it's like the hardest parts to me have been,
it's like the realization of like
they would have been here for sure and they're not here.
Yeah.
That is the hardest part. But also like and
thinking about it, like there's people that are alive and not showing up for me and not making sure that they make these events. But there's a person who died who I know if she was alive, she would have been here. She would have done anything in her ability or his ability to make it. And so then that also makes you grieve like, dang, did I lose one of like the best people that I knew? Or, you know?
Yeah. And
it's crazy.
It's just like that. I feel like there's people that have specific roles in families that keep all the dynamics in check. And
yeah.
And so losing that person, I feel like just shifted everything, and it's just it happens how it happens.
Definitely, even with my great grandmother, it was like her place was the place everybody goes to. Everybody at least visits there for like Thanksgiving or Christmas, and so you can run into other people in your family because you're visiting her.
Yeah.
But if you're not going to visit her and y'all only see each other at her house, then it's like you have to either find a way to visit that person, or you realize, was I with this person because I like this person, or was I with this person because she just so happened to be at the same place that I was at, trying to see the same person I was trying to see.
Yeah.
And so I think that's something that has changed in both of us too the past few years, of just basically trying to figure out who are the people who I enjoy talking to, I enjoy having a relationship with, and who are those people who I just had a relationship with you because you were seeing the same person that I was seeing, and we were in the same living room for about 3 hours.
We're both friendly.
Yeah.
we spoke.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It is hard.
Yeah.
It is hard. Like, all of that is definitely interesting, because it was the same way, like, with Gigi. It was like everybody goes over there to that house and stuff. And then my grandfather got remarried, like, I don't want to say soon after, because I guess soon is relative. But my grandfather got married afterwards, and I don't know. I feel like a lot of people just felt differently about that house in general. So it's just like, I remember Christmas when like we had like 30 people in that house. Like,
yeah.
It maybe wasn't 30. I was like, I don't know, 12, 10, 9, 8, whatever age I was. It might not have been 30, but it was like
a good amount.
It was a
multiple
big,
families.
Maybe I can find a picture and like put it up on there, because I remember we took a picture of everybody, but like it was a lot of people in that house.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, I don't see that ever happening again. Ever.
Yeah.
And I've talked to some of my cousins that are around my age, and we've talked about like, it would be so cool to throw a family reunion. And one thing I don't think we did think of is, we were saying like, okay, if I did a family reunion on my side, here's a group of people. And it's like, I mean, that's not like those throwback family reunions, but it's a few people. And then we were saying for your side, it was like, I mean, it's not like but it's not that many people, but I mean, we're a family now.
Yeah.
So our families are our families.
Together, yeah.
And so far, our families have all gotten along. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, maybe not everybody will get along, but we can't handle everybody.
Yeah.
But I think that it could be cool to invite our families, your families, and then that would be a big family reunion.
Because I even feel like, even with our wedding, if someone were to just be with us, they wouldn't know who's connected to who.
Yeah.
Because even the guy, this is such a good story, but When we were in Mexico for our wedding, which is where we had the wedding or whatever, we ran into this guy, and he's from I almost said Canada.
Canada.
He's from Canada, and he basically tells us, like, he's not really close with any of his family. He
travels alone.
He travels alone a lot, and usually he like tries to bring friends, things like that, but none of them ever want to come. They all just want a game. So he usually travels alone, and so we hung out with him a lot that week that we were there, and we kind of like brought him in as family almost. And so we see him out, and then he just automatically comes sit with us, have drinks with us, things like that. And there was a point where he was like, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. Like, I just wish my family could do this. And so I do think that our wedding was kind of like
very mixed,
and everyone gelled pretty well. There was times where people from your family were hanging out with people from my family, and it looked like they had known each other for forever. And so I think we could potentially do things like that. And obviously,
it's just hard.
Yeah, it's just hard. And we did that years out in advance, planning our wedding, and still.
I mean, not that. We only did it a year out.
Yeah. We had 40 people, so that was like a good turnout.
That's a pretty good amount of people. So, I mean.
But I'm saying that it's just like.
And that's out the country.
You have to plan for things like that and make sure that it's top on everybody's priority list.
That's what I was about to say. It has to be everybody. Everybody's priority has to be they want to see each other.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people's priorities is I want to see cousin so-and-so from that I haven't seen in 10 years, you know?
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
And I was telling Devin, too, that could be social media. Most of the time, you follow your close cousins. You follow pretty close family.
Yeah.
And so, I think sometimes we don't realize how different it makes the connection when we are actually in the same presence of each other just because we see each other so much on social media.
You think you know them.
Yeah, you think you know them, but you are seeing a side of them that they decided to post that day. And so I think a lot of times it's even like, oh, well, I mean, I don't have to go to the wedding. I'll see the pictures on Facebook.
I'll call them.
I'll call or send a gift, and then it'll be fine. But it definitely is a different vibe of being in person.
Yeah.
And I think that has changed a lot of family dynamics personally.
Yeah, because you
Thinking of
literally
social
think
media.
you know them.
Yeah.
But you only are seeing what they post. And
Like you really haven't seen them in 3 years.
And people can make themselves look like whatever. Because they might seem like they have everything together, but then you finally see them and their kids are running around looking raggedy and they're looking stressed out and
The
tired.
one picture they post of their kid that week is the one time that their kid was actually sitting down, not screaming to the top of their lungs, and actually listening to them once that entire week. And so it's like,
you just don't know that stuff.
yeah.
Or people could be seeming like they're okay and they're just not okay.
Yeah.
And so I think family reunions were definitely important, but I remember like taking them for granted for sure. Like I didn't talk to my cousins. Like when we would see each other for Thanksgiving, like we would just not.
The first 2 hours you don't talk to each other.
We just wouldn't talk, and we just like, you know, just kind of look at each other, and then eventually somebody's outside kicking around a ball into the fence, and you're just like, or one of the grandparents or aunts or uncles like, hey, go outside and play with. And you're like, okay, and then
Like, oh,
you know you want to go out there and play with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I definitely took that stuff for granted, but I do want to do something. It's just so hard. And then right now we're still young.
Yeah. And it's like, I think a hard thing too is everybody coming to one place and like deciding on that one place. Because I know with my dad's side of the family, I don't remember having many family reunions just because I think everybody was separated a lot. Mm-hmm. Like everybody was in different places. But with my mom, most of our family is in Louisiana. So it's easy to find a meeting ground in Louisiana where somebody knows somebody where we can use their gym or we can use their field, something like that.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, my mom's side is the only side that's kind of traveling to Louisiana, which we were probably going to do that year anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. But with people who are kind of all over the place, it's like, where do we meet?
Yeah.
Because we don't want to
make it seem like we're not trying to spend money, but y'all can spend money.
Yeah, y'all can spend money and fly here or drive here.
But we
get
also
hotels
don't want
here.
to, we spend the most money and y'all don't spend any money, or somebody doesn't spend any money. But I think that is kind of, I feel like you got to pick who has the nicest house, who has some land.
Yeah.
And y'all plan there. But it's like, I don't even know who I would connect with. Like, I don't know I don't know some of those older people. Like, I don't know any of them. All the people that I still talk to currently are our age, and they have apartments.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'd have to find something, I guess. But who knows? The Grey family reunion in 2030. And that's the thing too. Like, who's gonna come? Like,
I also think too that because Devin changed his name, and it used to be Hillary, but now it's Grey. He basically just dropped his last name and is using his original middle name.
My name was Devin
name.
Grey Hillary, and I dropped Hillary and kept Grey.
And so with that in mind, I feel like our generation specifically, I can't speak for anybody else, but our generation specifically are realizing that just because somebody is related to me by blood doesn't like necessarily make them family. I feel like what makes them family is their actions towards you. And so I think that we even have friends that we consider family more than some people who actually share some type of DNA with us.
Right.
And so even when we look at family reunions, I see us inviting a lot of our friends to a family reunion because our friends and family just kind of
It's
intertwine.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think with the upcoming of maybe family reunions coming back around, you will probably start to see more like family friends or close friends of other people more rather than, oh, this is your fifth cousin Billy Bob who you don't really know and you don't talk to him, but hey, he's here for free food.
Right.
And so it's like,
or you have this disrespectful uncle that is very rude or very predatory, like he's just weird.
And you have to tell your kids, like, be careful around him.
But you have to be polite to him because no, he's not coming to the.
Yeah, he's not invited.
He's not invited to the Grey family reunion. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just I see that. Yeah, like it would be your family is your family. It doesn't matter if it's blood. It doesn't matter if it's not blood. Who you decide is your family is your family.
Yeah. So it should be interesting if we end up doing something like that. I just would be very interested in how it panned out and just the dynamics of everything.
Because I'd be so mad if we did a whole thing of planning and our immediate family showed up. I'd be like, wow. But, we'd have a good time, but it's just like, wow. Okay. But I think people are just not worried about families like that anymore. Like, I don't think people are worried about the big family picture as much as it used to be. Like,
I think it's like every man for themselves.
Almost. Because every man has to be for themselves. Like, you don't have all the grand aunts sending one of the daughters $1,000 because she needs
her
a
wedding
down
dress
payment.
paid for.
She needs her wedding. You don't see that. You see maybe one aunt is really, really helping a sister, but you don't see like those grand aunts or grand uncles. You don't see you don't see them doing that as
Which,
much.
I feel like it's completely fine, but it's just, don't assume you hold. It's like the same thing when people are like, oh, what happened to all the women who have dinner cooked and things like that when it's time to get home? Well, if you're thinking about someone who was a stay-at-home wife in the 50s and she wasn't allowed to have a job, and didn't have to worry about paying bills, then, I mean, unless she's doing that, that's not what's going to happen. If she's worried about splitting bills and has a job as well, then you can't really expect for her to have dinner ready and cooked and you just walk in and it's like you just have a nice meal. Like, the dynamics are going to change. So if you don't want to do that, that's completely fine, but you just have to be ready for those other dynamics that you're thinking will happen to be different as well.
Yeah.
You can't just expect change from your side, but I'm still going to be the same.
Yeah.
So I don't hold anybody. I don't hold anything against anybody, but I do hold things against people when it's like, you expect me to call you, you don't call me.
Yeah.
Or you expect me to have a relationship with you, but you're talking about me when I'm not around. And so I feel like that's where the change is for me.
Yeah. But it's like, is it that type of stuff has always been happening and people just push it under the rug? Is that,
Yes.
you think that's the thing?
Yes. And I feel like the generation we're in, we're not okay with that. Because like I always say, I work way too hard to be a good person to the people I love. So if you want to treat me like crap, you're not going to get the same person that you were getting before. Because you're treating me like crap. I'm not going to be nice to you. I'm not going to want to have a relationship with you if that's how you're going to treat me.
Yeah.
And so, and I feel like is a lot of generational curses. You're accepting people treating you like anything, and now you're mad at the world. You could have avoided that if you would have told the people who are closest to you, no, you can't treat me like this. I'm not going to accept you treating me like this. Not only am I not going to accept it because I don't want you hurting me, but I don't want you hurting yourself either. You need to be a better person for yourself. And so I feel like that's the difference between then and now, at least. People are making sure and putting their mental health more forward rather than, oh, well, this is my aunt, so she calls me out of my name. It's fine. She's older than me. No.
Yeah.
You no longer have a relationship with me if that's the case.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's a big difference between.
I wonder if it's because we've seen our parents get so, like, we've seen our parents' private conversations to know that, like, they're not okay with the stuff that's going around, with the stuff going on in their families. Mm-hmm. And so I think that we're like, we're not going to feel like that. So why would we put up with that?
Yeah.
Maybe that's why.
Maybe. And I think it may be too, like, I feel like our parents were when it started to turn. But we're like the completely new, we're not taking it at all.
Yeah.
Like our parents maybe took it for a little bit of their life, and then
they would have went, but they would have called them out possibly.
Yeah. But
we're
now
like,
it's like, we're like, no.
Nah.
Never, no.
But
and
you
so
gonna mess around and what was that thing? I saw that little meme that was like
mess around and find out.
No, the meme that said I prioritized my mental health too much this year. Now I don't have any friends.
Right. I prioritized my mental health too much. Now I don't have any friends. Or I'm the only one in my circle.
Yeah.
And if that's how it has to be, then
you gotta figure it out.
I'd rather be happy and alone than sad and like basically beaten down, mentally beaten down,
but with
just
a bunch
to be
of people.
around a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, I feel like I struggle with that sometimes. It's like I want to be that way, but I feel like you just have to be. I don't know. I feel like the world is gonna beat you up anyway, so I just feel
like there are certain things, and it's a difference if you address somebody about a topic and they're like, you know what, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I'm sorry that you felt that way.
I'm sorry you felt that way. I'll try to make it better. You don't have to cut them off in that case. But if you're talking to someone, you're having a conversation with someone trying to reach understanding, and it's seeming like they're not even comprehending what you're trying to say, or you're trying to tell them how they hurt you and they need to take up for it, then it's like, I can understand this. You can at least acknowledge this. You don't have to understand it right now, but you can acknowledge that this is what's going on.
Yeah.
And so I feel like you don't have to be alone. But I think people owning up to whatever, like that when we were on the phone with my mom and she was like, I don't even know what was going on, but it was something about that I had said about how I felt in the past of like being a kid, and she was like, you know what, I never wanted you to feel like that. That can be a huge difference between,
and not saying I didn't want you to feel like that, but I was just going through so much at the time that I just didn't know how to be a parent. It was my first time being a parent too. When you start getting into all of that, it's like you're not really, you're just saying like you had to be that way because of the circumstances. It's not.
You're not acknowledging this is how I felt and this is how it's affected me now.
Yeah, like, because we're not saying, like, with our family members and stuff, because we're basically saying, like, we are going to address the situations with the people that we have going on, but it's just, it has to be, if it's not addressed in the correct way, or, I mean, if it's not responded in the correct way, that's whenever we move on to whatever we're trying to do. But yeah, so in terms of family reunions and stuff, it's just like, it's going to be some friends.
Yeah, it's going to be some friends. And it's like,
and some family, but
eventually my kids probably will know some of my friends as like aunts or uncles or
because they can hurt you just
their
like
parents as grandmas.
Yeah. They can hurt, but they can hurt you just as much as your actual family can hurt you. Like, just because, they're not actually blood, so they can disappear from your life as quick as anybody. So can your aunt, so can your uncle, so can your mom, so can your dad.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't, just because of that blood tie at the end of the day, that's nothing without a relationship.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but we gonna bring around some family reunions at some time. We're gonna have to do something. We're both some pretty big family people.
And we like to host.
We love to host. So we'll do something at some point, but that was our little take on, grief.
And then it went into family reunions.
Yeah, but I feel like what we were talking about is still grief, because if it's a friend that you cut ties with, just because they're not dead doesn't mean you don't have to grieve them like it's a loss.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you have to grieve. When you cut people off, if they meant a lot to you, you have to grieve them like it's a loss. Mm-hmm. Go through it, joke about it, cry about it, then whatever the other stages are.
Yeah.
But you just got to grieve it like it's a loss and treat it like it's a loss. You might see pictures of them throughout your time, but you just got to wish the best for that person. Just like, I hope that person went to heaven. I hope they're in a good space. You can do that with people that you cut off in real time. Like, I hope they're in a good space. I'm praying for them, whatever. And got to keep it pushing. But so I feel like it was still on the topic of grief, but that's how we kind of dealt with grief.
Yeah.
But we're going to get more into it on. We touched it a little bit. Yeah, we touched it a little bit, but we're going to get more into it on our Facebook Live. Yeah. Eventually we're going to start doing Instagram Lives.
We're a little scared.
Yeah, we're kind of scared to do Instagram Lives because, again, we're just scared that, like, people don't support us the way that we support them. And so it's just like, I don't want to go on Instagram Live and have my mom is the only one watching it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's just a lot to deal with. But we're going to just face our fears eventually, go on there on Instagram.
We'll do it.
For now, we're doing Facebook, and we'll eventually
hop over to Instagram.
But yeah, like, please like our stuff, subscribe,
follow
share.
our Gray Warehouse Instagram, share, comment on things that you've experienced for grief wise. Just send us some love.
Yeah, send us some love. Make us feel like everything we're doing is worth it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if we touch one person, that's all that matters. If somebody feels like they relate, that's all that matters. But yeah, so we are the Grays, and this is the Greycious Podcast. Yep. Thank you for watching.
Bye.
Do our little handshake.
Bye.